Positive Lens Podcasts. I'm your host, Scott T. Each week, we will bring you positive law enforcement news stories from across the globe, shared by departments and citizens like yourself. In our Getting to Know Your Local Leo segment, we will speak with a member of the law enforcement community about everyday life and most things non-law enforcement, as we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me.
Hey listeners, welcome to episode 32, part 2 of Getting to Know Your Local Leo, with recently elected Sheriff Eric Kirsch of the Wabansie County Sheriff's Office in Kansas. He is a former Marine Corps captain who completed several active duty combat deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq. During his 8 years with Wabansie County, prior to taking office in 2025, he served as deputy, detective sergeant, and undersheriff. He is a proud father, husband, and one of the most effective social media sheriffs you will find. In part 2, we dive right into why he is passionate about assisting those with mental health challenges and the permission he wants to give them. We also learn about what he is most scared of and the items he uses the most to bag arrests. He talks to us about his new developed passion for hunting that is combined with humanity and responsibility for wildlife, along with an innovative approach he's using to assist new student drivers, and the very unique role he would play in a music video. You will be surprised by this one. Finally, he shares with us an incredible story of what happened when he encountered a disabled vehicle of Antifa and anti-police supporters on I-70. Let's continue with episode 32. What got you more involved in helping the mental health awareness in law enforcement, and then also where you think it's going and how you think it's evolving?
I have so many friends that they're not alive anymore, and I owe it to them and their memory to be an agent of change for good, to be an advocate for not just mental health awareness, because that's easy to say. You can change your Facebook profile icon, but when I was passively suicidal well over 10 years ago, I wish I had someone in my life that was in my own chain of command that would tell me and give me the permission to just raise my hand and say, hey, I'm in a lot of pain, I don't know what to do, I'm drinking too much, I can barely sleep, I'm thinking about shooting myself, I need help. But what came with that at the time, if I had said that at a certain time, they would revoke your security clearance, or they would take your gun, and it's an end. It would be an early, premature ending to your purpose in life. So we lost an NCIS agent, not a super close friend of mine, but a young guy that I had gone through some pretty big courses with, who was an Iraq War vet, and he committed suicide. Typical to a lot of people that commit suicide, there was no warning signs, because it's a full-time job to make it seem like everything's okay, right? Mm-hmm. So that doesn't need to exist. If your arm is broken, if you got a fever, it's okay, but somehow there's a mountain in between you and relief, and the mountain of stigma, which doesn't need to be there. So you have to take it down in size, one attempt at a time. So one scoop of the barrel at a time. You just reduce the height of it, make it easier for someone to climb over that, because you're already in a position of you're in pain. You're operating at a lower ability, like a cell phone battery. Right now I'm at like 92%. I'm doing okay. Career-wise, I'm doing okay. I got really lucky. Got elected sheriff. Oh my God, holy crap, that's super cool. My family's healthy and happy. That's awesome. My community's happy with me. 13 years ago, it wasn't the case. I was barely alive. I was excelling in one portion of my life. Everything else was a disaster and a mess, right? Yeah. So I want to give people the permission through my own example, because that's what leadership is, right? Ductus exemplo, it's a Latin phrase for leadership by example. They beat it through our heads in Marine Corps Officer Candidate School and the Basic School at Quantico. You first. So if you want to be about anything, you have to be about it first. So I have no problem showing my own scars, because it's honest, it's authenticity, and I want to give people that permission and reduce their reduce the height of that high walled garden, for them to get the service that they need without the fear of loss of job or standing or stigma, etc. There should be no barriers to someone seeking relief or recovery ever, period, ever. So if you're having a problem, let's talk about it. We'll get you. It doesn't mean you're going to lose anything other than some little bit of time away from work, because I want you to have and maintain your purpose and your mission in life. I want you to be alive. Like I don't like wars anymore, and in fact, after seeing so much of it, I'm probably more of a functional pacifist than anything. I've seen a lot of crime and a lot of I want to try to prevent as much as we can proactively. A lot of times, we are first responders, but for major cases, we're the last responders. So, we're trying to etch out some solutions on how to get around that, for arming the youth with awareness and some tools that they can use to look out for online predators. Or how about this, talking to adolescents about, here are some signs of predatory relationships, controlling behaviors. Some of the biggest things that we miss the mark on, we're looking for, like, I'm not scared about getting shot. I'm not scared about doing, like, dangerous stuff. I'm scared of doing the wrong thing and the time that's given to me. I'm scared about taking it easier, getting comfortable, and just going through the motions. If everything I do turns out to be a spectacular failure and I don't get elected again, so be it. I gave my best. I gave it my best shot. It's like that great quote from near the end of Dazed and Confused, when they're standing in the football stadium, right? And
I don't remember the quote, but the movie certainly.
He goes, "I want to do it right when I'm stuck in this place. I want to give it all I can give when I'm stuck in this place." Because when you look back at your life and your life's work, you could be okay with it if you do that. If you show your heart, show your scars, and get out there and be comfortable being uncomfortable and having those tough discussions. Examination of self, examination of your role in the world, and how you could be of a benefit to others. I'm the same person here on Podcast World as I am when I'm off duty or when I'm on duty. I'm the same person. I haven't, changed at all. And it's incredibly important for me to I'm still in student mode, trying to learn, and I'm reading 2 books about leadership right now. And when I get done, I'm going to start 2 more. And it's going to take me some time, but that constant emphasis and priority on maintenance, whether that's that personal maintenance, physical maintenance. Every once in a while, we might have a subject that is resisting arrest, and I'll be damned if I'm fat and out of shape. That's, I work out not as much as I used to, and it's 3 times a week instead of like 6 days a week when I used to when I was a Marine. But I'm not going to be that guy that loses a fight, right? Because I have a gun. I don't want to have to ever use my weapon, ever. I never want to do that. If this is the pen that I'm holding in my hand, this is how I bag most of my bad guys. Right here, right? I use this first, my head, and I use my pen. God forbid, I'll go hands-on. I've only used my taser 1 time ever, period. Right?
Really? Wow.
That was because I was lazy, because it was a young cat trying to run away from me after he admitted to a burglary. He was running into the woods wearing, like, running shoes, and it was August. And I was like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I had the lawful authority to tase him. I tased him. I was like, woo! All right. And I got him hooked up. I still feel bad a little bit, but not really, But yeah, it's chaos overall, like you said earlier with New York, controlled chaos. And I don't want to ever appear to be an authority, which is weird because I'm an authority figure. But I'm really just an authority trying to figure things out, if that makes sense, right? That's where I'd want to be. That's what I want out of a sheriff if I wasn't a sheriff.
How can the community help that? If it's helping with reducing stigma, if it's helping with supporting that aspect of the law enforcement role, because you're in your role helping us, you're supporting us. I like to say that you guys make sacrifices and go about, time away from your families so that we can actually go about our everyday routines without those fears of something happening. That's what you're trying to keep our lives normal, but that means your lives are destabilized many times. So what can we do as civilians to help support law enforcement in that respect?
I don't want to ever want to give a suggestion like that. I think it's inappropriate for me to this is your obligation. It starts with us. My my neighbors elected me sheriff. I have 7,000 bosses.
Right.
A year ago, I had one boss, the sheriff, and now I'm the sheriff. I've got every citizen of my county is my boss, and I report to them. That was one of the things that I really emphasized when I would meet with people as I was gaining to be on the ballot via gathering petition signatures. There was two ways you could file for sheriff. One was to pay a large cost up front to register. The other way was to accumulate enough signatures in person for free to get on the ballot. So I chose the petition route because I wanted to meet people. As the detective, all I knew were bad guys and victims.
Right.
So, but one of my major questions I would ask them is what are your expectations of me? And many of them were astonished because I was in listening mode. I'm like, how can I best support you? It wasn't me telling them anything. It was me asking them something that would benefit me and integrate that into my mission. These are our obligations. So, for instance, we're going to start. It's something that we haven't started yet, but we're gonna start doing it next school year with brand new student drivers. We're going to do mock traffic stops where if they're getting their driver education, we're going to perform traffic stops, and we're going to show them a textbook stop and what they can expect from law enforcement. Because typically that's most interactions. It's going to be a traffic stop with a law enforcement officer, and I want to demonstrate, educate new drivers. This is what you can expect. This is a perfect, by the book, no bullshit way a typical traffic stop should go down. My name's Sheriff Kirsch. I stopped you for speed, driver's license, registration, proof of automotive liability insurance. Then you provide me your license, your insurance, and your registration. I go back, I run your information, I come back, I either give you a warning, a ticket, or a written warning, and then it concludes the stop. And if you are asked certain things, like step out of the car, I want you to know that you need to. It's a lawful order because of the constitutional or the Supreme Court case, Pennsylvania versus Mims. You need to be aware of that. Or if I ask something inappropriate, like, well, what's your Snapchat handle? You get to say, I'm not comfortable giving that to you. And then you can call 911 from there and report it in real time. All right? So you're not victimized because Kansas has our post standards. It's important to me, the Commission of Peace Officers Standards and Training, and every quarter they release a list of officers that are decertified for different things. And recently I see a trend in law enforcement of the professional lines blurring, where 3 years ago, out of a 20 or 40 officer roster of decertifications, there's one or two officers that are decertified for, say, Deputy Kirsch is dispatched to a domestic violence incident and then 2 days later starts an inappropriate relationship with a victim. The very last, you can go on Kansas C Post, the website right now, and look at the last integrity bulletin. I'd say a healthy 30% are younger officers that are blurring the lines between the professional standards. They're asking those types of things, of victims and witnesses, and there's something wrong going on, and I don't know where that is exactly. I'm still searching for that where is the wound that we need to heal or remedy or triage. The lines are blurring, and I'm not happy with it, and as a leader, I get to do something about that. So it's not what you can do for us, it's what we can do for you. And it starts with us because you've given me the authority through the democratic process. You elected me sheriff. Thank you very much. And then two, I'm going to be very, very observant and treat this like the sacred obligation as it is to support and defend you and your constitutional rights and make sure that the peace is maintained and upheld and that I'm doing my damn job because it's an incredible honor. It really is. My life is very busy and hectic right now, but that's the gig, right? And you have to fully embrace it. either way, but I think it's something as simple as what we're doing with those mock traffic stops with younger drivers to show them, here's the textbook scenario, and this is what we will be looking for, and this is what is expected of you. And these are where things go wrong, and I want you to be aware of it. Yeah, if you are asked to step out, that's a lawful order. Please don't look at YouTube and find a sovereign citizen idiot that's going to be going crazy and quoting some nonsense gibberish to defend his unlawful refusal to step out of the vehicle, which will lead to a forced entry into the vehicle and then an arrest. We got to break your glass and we got to pull you out of the vehicle. There's the use for just step out of the vehicle. Pennsylvania versus Mims. Let's talk about Pennsylvania versus Mims. X, Y, and Z. These are the tenets of the case. This is why we do things. Or if we have something called probable cause or reasonable belief, it's synonymous. Say I encounter, based on my training experience, the odor of marijuana coming out of your vehicle, and I now have probable cause or reasonable belief that there's evidence of a crime or contraband in the vehicle, and I could lawfully ask you to step out of the vehicle and I could search your vehicle under the Carroll Doctrine or the mobile conveyance exception to the Fourth Amendment. This is the rationale. You arm them with the information, because I see a lot of body cam videos now where people are trying to hold court. Both the motorists and the officers are trying to hold court on the damn side of the road, and that's not the place to hold court. Court is where you hold court. The side of the road is not where you espouse the constitutional ideals or the passions by which the founders framed everything. Let the courts decide who was in the right and who was in the wrong. But an educated officer is a safe officer, and an educated public is less at risk of becoming, named in a suit with us as the bad guy. I don't want us to be the bad guy, right?
Right.
Absolutely. I want us to know our damn place and know our damn jobs and be educated and literate, so we're not messing things up. And it's an easy thing to do but you have to be interested. You have to have leaders that are very I can't even say like me, but I'm very passionate about my job, and I'm very passionate about not sucking at this job. So again, our concealed carry classes, I love the Second Amendment, but I know that firearms are made for one purpose. I've seen the end result a lot. They're there to kill people, right? So it's a tremendous responsibility. So and it's your constitutional right. So let's help you get proficient at it. We'll explain the reasons why the Second Amendment exists constitutionally, and then we're going to talk about firearm safety, because that's universally applicable, right?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I want everyone to be armed and to be proficient and safe. I had a constituent come in my office the other day, and he was all nervous. I'm like, why are you nervous? He's like, I have my concealed carry weapon. I'm like, cool, are you going to shoot me? He goes, no. I'm like, what kind of gun is it? And he's like, it's whatever, Yeah, it was a Glock. It was a nice Glock. And I said, that's a great Glock, good selection. He's like, I didn't know. I'm like, why wouldn't you be able to have a gun in the office talking to the sheriff? I've got a gun. You've got a gun. It's like the great scene from Boardwalk Empire. We all got guns, right? Come on. It's like, are you going to hurt me with your gun? No, Sheriff, I'm not. Good. Please don't. I don't like getting shot at. It's like one of my least favorite things. I've been shot at a lot. It sucks. It really sucks. It's terrible. But it was strange, and it was a learning experience for me too, because he's a friend of mine, but I knew him sort of outside of the job. He helps me I've got ducks and chickens and guineas and turkeys, and every spring around this time I have foxes and coyotes it's like spring break for wildlife right now. So everyone's got mouth to feed, right? So even so the coyotes and the predators come in and take a duck or a chicken. So my buddy, he's like a Grizzly Adams trapper guy, but so I've known him for years and years, and he helps me take care of my coyote problem. We have a high coyote density here in Kansas, where we're out in the beautiful Flint Hills. But he was so nervous, and I said, no, it's fine. You can have a gun on your hip. I don't care. He's like, I just wasn't sure. I'm like, well, now you're sure. Like, don't take it out. Don't point at me, please. But, where we grew up, there weren't any guns, right? Anywhere. No. It was bad guys, or maybe your friend had an uncle who had a cousin who had a roommate in college that maybe had a shotgun, and they were probably full of crap, right? That they had a pistol or something hidden.
Somewhere, yeah.
Guns were in movies. The first time I ever shot a firearm, I was a cadet at the Citadel. It was a M9 Beretta at Paris Island. We went for weekend training. And I was like, oh my God, it's real. It's real. It's real. And I was surrounded by, good old boys from the country who had been shooting since they were 2. And all of us that grew up in like California or the Northeast were like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's real. So
I think, there's a couple of things you said that are pretty interesting. Well, a lot of it actually is interesting, but, to go back to what led to that question. So it's not so much our responsibility, like I said, to help the law enforcement. Like I said, there's nothing you put on the citizen. But I think as a citizen, what we should be responsible for ourselves is being able to be aware of what we have our rights with. Like I said, if you're teaching the students about traffic stops, if you're teaching students about their Second Amendment rights, if we have that opportunity, we should be willing to take some level of responsibility to understand it and learn it, because then it actually allows us to be protecting ourselves and also be more understanding about what's taking place in those interactions. So I don't want to say, so it's not necessarily a responsibility, but it does help.
this is very important.
Yes.
LEOs,
of independence.
LEOs and citizens, this is very important. These are very important things. This is probably the most important thing that we should all be aware of. And I've got a copy of this on my desk, in my vehicle, on my nightstand. And I wish I could say I read it every day, but I don't. I've read it enough to know what to and what not to do. But yeah, it's on us first. I mean, I think if anything, anywhere you are in the United States, I would enthusiastically encourage you to go on a ride along with your local police department, or your local, even better, sheriffs, because I'm biased. I'm biased towards sheriffs. I think sheriffs are cool, obviously. But go on a ride along. Go see what life is like for the people that are working in your neighborhood or your city or your county. And that experience will undoubtedly stick with you. Good or bad, I think it mostly will be good. I have so much love for people that are willing to take on the weight of responsibility to serve their nation in the military, and to first responders, even medical. Emergency medicine is amazing to me. It's fascinating to me. Every time I see triage in like a trauma center, it's amazing. The orchestra and the choreography that goes into life-saving measures. And I give a lot of shit to firefighters, but it's only out of jealousy, because I was dumb enough to be a cop versus becoming a firefighter. But anyone who's willing to risk their life or limb for a stranger, I've got nothing but respect and love for them, because the public servants and civil and civic servants, that's what keeps this whole thing going. It really does. I mean, that's the
like I said, and you're literally, for the most part, helping to protect, serve perfect strangers, or imperfect strangers even, right? Just individuals that you don't know who they are, you don't know anything about them, and you need to set aside all biases, all preconceived notions in that moment to save their life, keep them alive, keep them moving. Or like you said, even coaching and working alongside them.
I changed the tire for a disabled vehicle on I-70, and it was nothing but Antifa stickers and the police, and they had a flat tire. And I looked at the stickers, and I went, oh no. But, there are people that needed help. This was 3 years ago. I helped change their tire, and they were super nice and super polite. And I didn't need them to be polite or nice. I didn't know what to expect. I was a little nervous, but, there were people that needed help, and I helped change their tire, and it wasn't like they couldn't do it on their own, but I made sure that my vehicle lights, or rear deck was on. I had traffic control going. They were protected. I was helping them with the lug nuts, and they were not fans of law enforcement, but I didn't give a shit. I was there to help them change a tire, right? And they were, none of them were like, it would have been great. I wish they had been rude, but, just to make myself look extra good or something, but that wasn't the case at all. They were just regular people, I don't know where they were going. It wasn't my business, but they needed help, and I helped them out. But it was interesting, to see, like, the stickers on the back of their vehicle were different than the actions and words that were said to me. It was just more of like, Thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. Have a good day. See you later.
Yeah. And you can only hope that that glimpse of experience with them gets them to think a little differently in their mind. Like, you know what? They're not all painted with that same brush.
Right. So overseas, we were always legitimately, and I think naturally, extra nice to the kids, the street kids.
Yeah.
We were their version of television in a lot of these more remote areas. So like when the American patrol would come by, I knew those kids would never forget us. So we went out of our way to be nice to them. We'd give them Beanie Babies and candy and MREs, and not the good parts of the MREs, like the pound cakes or the candies, because that was for us. But you know, for the way we would behave, you know, Habibti, yallah, assalamu alaikum, and they would reciprocate. Some, not all the time, they would, you know, be all super happy to see us. But I realized the power of forging a good memory. That's why we're here in Wabansi County. We don't give a lot of tickets because it's more important to me to make a good memory with the motors. Hey, I'm going to give you a verbal warning today for speed. Slow it down. Thank you. You know, you get that thank you, you get that relief, and you make a memory, which is vastly more powerful and beneficial to my profession. Not me, but my profession. Because I'm not here to take from you. I'm not here to penalize. You know, I think punishment is always subordinate to education. I want to demonstrate the power of restraint. You know, I don't understand the concept of here's your ticket. You'll learn from this. I've gotten tickets before. You know what my reaction to that was? F that cop. I was never grateful or humble about it. You know, I was like, God damn it, mother. You right? No, I was angry not at just that cop, but every cop that existed. Because I'm like, both times I got pulled over with tickets, the last 2 times at least, I was coming back from war zones. I was like, hey, where's the thanks for my service, asshole? Yeah. Not really. I didn't say that because I'm a wuss when it comes down to the marrow. But we promote that philosophy as like, I'm going to demonstrate that, yeah, I'm not here to take from you. We do a ton of traffic stops. Timothy McVeigh was caught by an Oklahoma State trooper who pulled him over for a tag violation. So the meat and potatoes of good police work is always should be celebrated and honored and maintained and reevaluated, but it remains. But no one works here, no one that is here that works here takes any sort of joy on giving anyone a ticket. You know.
Now I want to go. I'm sorry, but what you said, it's so true. I know of an officer who said he would never give the driver of the car a speeding ticket if there was children in the car because he didn't want the impression that children heard with a parent negatively talking about the police officer once he walked away. That's
beautiful. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So
I'm stealing that. Can I steal that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
He always knew that because your reaction. What do you do when you get the ticket? And if there's children in the car, they're hearing negative communication about a police officer.
I never thought about that.
Never wanted that. Yeah, like I thought that was pretty cool. Granted, I'm sure there are some exceptions to some bad things that happen, but yeah, that was the goal. You know, I know I want to wrap a few things up for you. I know we've been on for a while, so I want to go over a couple fun topics for you.
It's all fun.
And I say fun because being in the Northeast, there's different views on different condiments. So, first, hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hamburgers.
What do you put on? Ketchup or mustard?
Oh, God. Yeah, depends.
But you got to be careful. You're in Kansas now.
No, it depends. So, yeah. I'm an omnivore, so I'll eat everything. You know, like first time I went to Whataburger, I was a little skeptical of the mustard being on the hamburger, right? And then I ate it, and I was like, I get it. Yeah, you go out to the West Coast, you go to In-N-Out Burger, and you get the double animal style, and there was that weird like Thousand Island dressing on the burger. I'm like, I don't know. And you eat it, and you're like, I get it, right? I get it. I love shitty backyard barbecue burgers with like grocery store toppings. Those are my favorite. You know,
cheap cheese and Greek condiments.
Yeah, the crappy Kraft cheese and like, you know, the Heinz mustard that should have been put out to pasture, you know, months ago. And the sad looking lettuce and the sun deflated tomatoes the flies are kind of gathering, like not to go for the throat on those. Those are my favorite by far. And then I'll finish that up with a hot dog, you know, like a really sad, you know, looking hot dog that looked like, you know, it wasn't good enough for the 7-Eleven rollers.
They weren't rolling long enough.
Yeah.
All right, so you're the front man of the band. Your choice. What band?
Oh, right now?
Right, any band, either
Oh God,
past or present. If you get to be the front man.
I'm not gonna take from anybody's journey. No, I'm not gonna. Nope. No. Every artist that ever existed is successful.
If you can coexist with the band, they give you the chance to be on stage for one song.
I will not involuntarily. God, I might. So I love a lot of really sappy music, like Joni Mitchell. All right, and I was blasting this morning. I was listening to Wu-Tang when you and I came on. I was blasting Wu-Tang to psych myself up because I love like rap and hardcore rap. I also love Enya, right? So maybe if I could be in the background on like an Enya, like in one of those old '90s, like in the music video, like making some pottery.
The cheesy music video when they made videos.
Exactly. But like with something really weird going on. I don't know, maybe just some people dancing in a field. I'm like making pottery. It's like a badass Enya, song where people are learning about introspection and emotional buoyancy. I don't know, stuff like that. Or one of the guys in the pit on like an old school like Pantera.
Old mosh pit.
Dimebag Darrell, rest in peace, bro. But like did you know Pantera started off as a hair metal band? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Look, just YouTube Pantera '80s, and they're not that dissimilar from like Motley Crue or Van Halen. They're and it's great too. It's amazing. The thing that made them pop, it's weird. It's like they played with the same level of intensity, and we're gonna leave it all on the stage kind of energy in the '80s as they did in the '90s when they were all about like hardcore metal and stuff.
That's interesting. I'll check that out.
It's super cool. It's interesting. But no, I overall won't take from any artist. I think that's sort of like stolen valor, artistically.
All right, so I know you got remarried, but let's just, you're out to press your wife for the night. You have to, really make her happy. Are you going to be singing a song to her? Are you going to be showing those dance moves?
No,
what is going to be the impression?
Jessie hates it when I sing, so that's why I sing to her. And a lot of it is, I do a pretty good Eddie Vedder in the shower, right? I'll go through a lot of Pearl Jam, a lot of Soundgarden. My wife's biggest complaint is, and it's righteous, and it's very legitimate. Her biggest complaint is she gets what's left over. And I say that with, she gets what's left over because I put this job first a lot of the time, and she gave me the permission to, when I was first sworn in, she gave me the permission to make it first place because she knew what was necessary, the efforts of labor required, because we had to redo all of our policies and procedures. I had to look at staffing. I had to look at, top to bottom, every metric, and kind of recalibrate the instrument of this agency. So she gave me that permission, and 2 for 2, I married up, above my ability. I hit a home run, and I'm committed now to not fouling up this marriage because, I fouled up the first one. And, but she just wants to spend time with me, and I don't have that ability all the time to do that. So that's a good night for us, is really just hanging out and going out to, shout out to 4th and Elm in Wamego, Kansas. That's our date night spot. But I got to get better because I've been picking the job because there's typically it doesn't take much for something to be a big deal, right? And I don't ever want to feel like I'm letting anybody down. And it's funny, like the most important person in my life, other than my daughter, is my better half, and I consistently let her down. But thankfully, it's nothing major. I'm not like some scumbag that cheats on her, or like I'm not drinking anymore. So it's just like, instead of getting home at 4:30, I get home at 4:30, but it's a.m. instead of p.m. So I'm working on that, and but I do serenade her with a lot of really shitty Nickelback songs in the shower. And she'll walk downstairs and she hears me do the whole "look at this photograph," because I'm not a good singer, so I keep trying.
But it keeps a smile on her face.
It does, yeah. I have the ability to, if I can make her laugh, I'm winning. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I tell my wife that. I said, listen, even when you get mad at me, I always find a way to get a smile on your face, so at least I feel like I've got something good going there. So if you're having to prepare the dinner then, if you're saying, hey, honey, I'm going to prepare dinner for you tonight, I'm going to make a special meal. What are you making?
It's that's easy. It's gonna be backstrap from a deer or an elk with sautéed mushrooms and onions, a little bit of garnish, maybe some au jus with it as well, but and a chilled Pellegrino or two.
So have
But
you perfected it? Or
yeah,
just,
oh yeah,
okay.
I got that down.
Okay.
I got two things I'm really good at. It's gonna sound weird, but squirrel. I'm really good at cooking squirrel. I can make even fox squirrel taste like buffalo wings.
I was going to say, I've never had squirrel, honestly.
It's
So how does squirrel, in general, what is the consistency of a squirrel? What is the actual base taste versus, dicing it up to make it sound like chicken
it's
wings?
like tree chicken. You get this sense of there's an undertone of hints of
That's what you get from the New York vendor on a street meat.
kind of, yeah, exactly. If you've ever had a dirty water dog in Central Park,
Yeah.
you've probably eaten squirrel anyway, right?
Yeah, that or rat, one or the other.
Or a rat, yeah, that's right, or a pigeon or something. By the way, dove, which is very similar to pigeon, is incredibly delicious. I learned how to hunt since coming to Kansas. I didn't, where we grew up, there's no hunting.
There's no hunting, at least
So,
not in that area.
so I started hunting out here in Kansas, and now I'm addicted to it. And I treat the wildlife regulations like a menu every year. Like it's turkey season right now. I'll probably be doing that later today or tomorrow morning for damn sure. But yeah, perfect dinner is probably going to be elk or deer. I've got 5 freezers now full of not full anymore because we eat a lot of it. But I shot my first big a bull elk on public land in Colorado in 2022, and that was super cool on public land. And I love deer hunting, and it's a very emotional thing. It's like every time you kill an animal, there's a sanctity to it. So I want to be like it's just another extension of my idea of I want to be responsible for. I want to be a provider too. So for my family, yeah, look at what I've brought down from the mountain. I have climbed up a mountain and felled this giant woodland beast, and I take everything with me. We process the animal at home. I've taken it obviously to a processor a few
Right.
times, but there's this incredible level of satisfaction learning how to hunt well, effectively, and then humanely, obviously, and then to process the whole animal. So yeah, it's for something I didn't grow up with. It's really nice to be able to kind of hold my own now. As I'm not a guide at all, but I can take a new hunter out and put them on an animal and teach them how to do what we need to do the right way, ethically, and have reverence for the animal. I watch hunting shows sometimes, and you see the hosts of the show, and they're like, they'll shoot anything, they'll get all, and people celebrate and whatever. They have different reactions. Everyone's different. But some of the hunters are like, yeah, that turkey just took a dirt nap, woo! And I'm never like celebratory like that. I think it's incumbent upon us to have a level of this is a life, and this needs to have a sense of reverence to it. You should honor this animal that just gave its life so that you can eat. And yeah, so sorry for the long answer on that one.
No, it's fine because I think, people always have questions about hunting, and are some misconceptions to it, and there are some people who hunt for game but not for the aspect of the food.
Sure.
And I'm fully supportive of hunting. I myself do not hunt, but I'm fully supportive of the hunting aspect of it, and I think the key part is what you said. You are using the animal. You're not just hanging a trophy on the wall. You're actually using the meat of the animal. I think that's the differentiating factor. If you're hunting just to leave something dead, well then what are you doing? I don't understand that aspect of it. Or if you're hunting just because you want a trophy, that part I don't connect with as well. But if you say I'm hunting and I'm using the animal for food, either I'm eating it or someone else is eating it, I can draw a better connection to it. That's just me personally.
You're absolutely right, Scott. I mean, like every turkey I've killed, that turkey has survived bacterial infection. It survived possums, raccoons, in the egg in utero, in its embryonic state.
Yeah.
It survived its ascension into adulthood, and then it survived every owl, every fox, every coyote, every vehicle on the road. Like turkeys have no friends, squirrels have no friends. Everything is out to get them. And I've killed turkey before and wept, for a couple minutes because I realized the life of that animal. Until it met me, it was a survivor. Right? Everything is trying to eat it and kill it. And then, as fate should have it, I got the drop, or I successfully called it in, that turkey in, and realized like you feel very small, and you should. And I think when you emote certain things, there is a sense of you're happy that you're successful, but you're also like sad at the same time. And there's a simultaneous sort of reverence and mourning and awe of the majesty of it all, nature. Yeah. Because here in Kansas, we're not killing. You kill one turkey a year. We used to have a fall season. Now it's just a spring season because our turkey density is lower than it's ever been. So righteously, they made sure that you can only take one turkey a year, but it's not just a turkey, and that's why so when you call our statewide poaching line, you talk to a Wabunsee County dispatcher. We man the Operation Game Thief tip line because I give a shit about poaching wildlife violations so much. We decided to take on that additional duty for our wonderful dispatchers, take the statewide poaching tip line on behalf of Kansas Wildlife and Parks. So for our game wardens, we're propagating any tips for hunting violations. And,
yeah. Poaching is still ridiculous to me. Not just even domestically, internationally. The things that people do, poaching animals for the horn or anything else, or just whatever it might be. It's just it's despicable.
It is, yeah. It's ghastly. It's another form of bullying.
Yeah.
Right? Just there's a lot of monsters out there, and forget about the things that you read about in the grim fairy tales. Sometimes they're right down the street, or they're right behind you or next to you on the highway.
Yeah, so. You don't even know it. And a couple of last few questions in for you. We talked about a lot of relationships with the community, but what do you think is the best way for the law enforcement officers, sheriff's office, police officers, whomever they might be, right, to build stronger bridges with these communities they serve every day?
Yeah, get out of your cars. Get out of your cars. Show people that you got legs. Have lunch or dinner in the businesses that you patrol, your areas of responsibility. I mean, I think there's a million answers and there's a million questions to that question, right? But get out of your cars. Yeah, show people that you got legs. That's my initial instinct. You can't have rules without relationships. You can't have expectations without relationships. My primary objective is to have good, healthy, neutral, solid working relationships with everybody. That's a citizen of the community, and that's also with offenders too. I want to get a confession, right? I want to have a good temporary relationship with that person, in order to successfully elicit admission of guilt. To seek the truth out of that allegation. Now, I'm specifically talking about like child crimes.
Right.
But that's where my background is in persons crimes, felony crimes, homicides, serial rapists, family sexual violence, child pornography, those darker type of crimes where you have to effectively establish a relationship in order to engender a truthful response, successfully attain a lawful confession or admission or a partial admission or a provable lie. So but for LEOs, if you're focused on trying to identify the shortcomings, you're doing fine. If you're looking at yourself and self-critiquing individually, you're doing fine. For leaders, if you're looking at the organization, looking for the problems, not the problem people, but the problems in your, the way you're doing business, you're doing fine. Don't kick back and think that everything's okay. It's not. There's overemphasis on stats or numbers, or people aren't numbers. The metrics don't tell the whole story. You know who to call if you need help, and know when you're out of your depth too. I've done 6 total DUI investigations ever. I'm not a DUI guy. If I ever have a DUI stop, I'm calling someone for advice typically. Roadside I can do the SFSTs and everything like that, but if I have a question, if I have time during that investigation to call someone, it's going to be one of my junior deputies. Shout out to Chase Dahlbomber, because he's done more DUIs hardly than anyone I know. And he's 25, 26. I mean, he lives and breathes it. And he's ethical and lawful, and he's very enthusiastic about it, because both of us are tired of carrying fatality accidents off the side of the road because of impaired driving. So we're passionate about it. But, like, I'm obligated to tell the truth and to be brave, and I have to lead by example. So even if you're not a sergeant or a lieutenant or a chief or a sheriff, you lead yourself first regardless. So get very comfortable with the bits about you that you're not happy with, and identify those and then improve them. That's it. That's it.
All right. So if you had to do it all over again, would you still be?
Would have joined the Air Force.
Yes. Would you be the sheriff, or what would you all over again? Would you go into law enforcement as you are today?
Probably. Probably. Yeah.
Now, would you have changed in a different path? Would you have still done the Marine Corps as well, or would you maybe just went straight to law enforcement?
Probably. Yeah. You know, the scariest movie I ever saw was Office Space. I'm serious. I watched that when it came out, when everyone else was watching it on DVD, and I was scared to death, because that's the reality for millions of people. You know, like, you drive to a job that you barely like or even hate, and you sit down and you have to, like, ask permission to go to the bathroom, you know, or like to go out to lunch, or, you know, I'm serious though. Like, when I watched that, I was like, oh my God, that's a real thing, like an office job, like that, to me at least. And no offense to anyone that works in an office building, that scared the shit.
I know I do most of the time. Don't worry.
Like I said, this is not a hit on anybody. I don't want to be mean. It's my own 2 cents. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody but myself right now. But oh God, yeah, the lengths. I mean, they committed a felony crime, and then arson was the end of that story, right? Right. So, felony embezzlement and then arson to end the chapter in their lives, the characters in that movie. But Mike Judd, who wrote and directed that movie, he also made Beavis and Butthead and Idiocracy and King of the Hill. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably do what I'm doing now. And if I was born in Portugal, I'd probably be a Portuguese Marine if they have them, and then a cop, you know. Or if I was born in medieval times, I'd probably go off to the Crusades, because I would think that was the right thing to do, and then come back and maybe be a good sheriff of Nottingham instead of the indifferent asshole that they had in Robin Hood, right? But it's important for us to try to share the light that we've built here, and that's what we're doing here. Because, like the Goonies said again, it's our time. It's my time, and I'm not gonna lead us into a bad spot. I want to do it right, and I want to be open to the idea that maybe that we can improve things. And the way that we can improve things is to try to improve ourselves first. Because if it doesn't start with us, then it doesn't work. There's no start. There's no ending. Right. So I want to be deliberate, precise, and have pure intentions, and just put out and perform. Because I don't have any damn time to sit back and think that things are cool. Because there's people that are killing horses out there, and there's a kid.
Right.
There's a kid right now being hurt in my county, probably, that hasn't reported it yet. Right? And I'm not scared of getting killed. I'm scared of getting comfortable.
Yeah, complacency sets in, and then all goes. You know, for the individuals in your town, you mentioned there could be a child out there, and you know, we know that unfortunately, I put that as the most heinous crimes there are, honestly, that and rape. But crimes against women and children, I think that's 100% zero tolerance, right? There's nothing worse than those crimes for me. But you know, for the individuals that are out there in the community, either locally in Wabansie County or through anywhere else listening, what is a safety tip that you would offer individuals for them in their everyday lives? Like, what is a safety tip to practice every day?
Trust but verify. Don't let anyone... Trust your gut. If an individual is throwing you warning signs, listen to your heart, listen to your gut. Your gut's typically going to going to be accurate. If there's something off, there's something off. If you know what it is what it is. Trust but verify with everything. So if you're dropping your kid off at daycare and there's something off about one person working there, be curious. It's okay. Be impolite. Ask, like, who's that? What's that person's name? Can I see their background file? Don't get led down a dark road, and just I keep forgetting the quote. It was the girl with the dragon tattoo. Remember those movie series?
No, I don't remember that one.
It was the remake with James Bond. Damn it, what was his name? The British actor. The latest James Bond. I'm gonna
drawing a blank on his name.
I'm gonna maul this, but long story short, he is investigating the crime that happened in the storyline in the movie, and he was lured to his impending death by being polite, even though he was ignoring his warnings, his instincts to not go down into the basement with the charismatic villain, the secret villain of the movie, and the villain ends up saying, "Look at the position you're in right now. You are now chained in my basement. You're my captive because you refuse to be impolite." And it was such a powerful moment. I'll get better next time when I tell this story, but that always stuck with me. Like the people that are like bad guys, like the criminal psychology, the criminal mind is very different than most people, right? Because they look at everything through the lens of reward. We see risk versus reward, and we're noble. We like to think we are anyway, and we're law-abiding, and we're generous and charitable, and we don't seek pleasure or find pleasure in hurting other people. But the criminal mind, they just see reward everywhere they look, and they sense weakness on many people because most people are nice and they want to accommodate, and they naturally want to be agreeable and collaborative. So there have been hundreds of thousands of people that have been victimized by predators because they didn't trust their gut and say, no, I'm not going to, I don't give consent to any further interaction with this person. Most people are hurt by people they know. Very little are, like, the stranger danger is important for kids to know, but we're failing them as a society without equipping them with the appropriate tools and skepticism about online stranger danger or online hygiene. Like, especially with this is a whole other conversation, but the rise of AI. A lot of our elderly population, they're being, not elderly even, but anyone could be taken by the new AI scams, where they can replicate a voice of your family member or even a video now. You get a video call. We're going to post this video next week sometime, but we had a nice lady come in a week and a half ago, and she was being ripped off by some scumbags, probably outside the United States, and her cell phone was ringing, and on the phone it said, Muncie County Sheriff's Office. And I held it up to my partner's body camera, and I did a little informational PSA, like, hey guys, don't trust anything. We will never ask money from you. We'll never request money for, if you need anything, call the sheriff's office, but we'll never demand or threaten you with arrest or demand money to not be arrested. It's a scam. Trust your gut. And she trusted her gut. She came in, and thankfully she was able to not be ripped off at all. But
she literally was getting a phone call with her showing.
It said Muncie County Sheriff's Office on her. It's on video, clear as day. And it wasn't. I answered the phone, and it was not us, at all. And
it would have been really great. They said, "This is Sheriff Eric Kirsch."
Right? Oh, really? Well, thank God I've got handcuffs. I'll just handcuff myself. Thanks for calling. But it's it's okay to be skeptical, and it's okay to reach out to law enforcement. We have to defend through our own demeanor, behaviors, and action the virtues and the strength of this profession. We're here to protect and serve. And I want to, most importantly, more than anything else, I want to be approachable. Because if people need help, especially in this day and age, if they need help, I want us to be a resource that they can either receive help or options from, period. And we're not going to do that if we're sitting, running radar in the median all day, or wearing tacked out uniforms, or if we're behind limo tint, if we're not walking around, there's a certain amount of really wonderful things growing up where we saw cops walking beats, right?
Right.
You got to talk to them. You got to know their first names even. You get to realize, oh, okay, all right, you're not just a number either. You're a human being. You've got a family. You see them at restaurants, like, hey, how you doing, kid? Yeah, good, officer. How are you? Like, oh no, it's like the whole Jerky Boys things. How you doing there, liver lips? Frank Rizzo, R-I-Z-Z-O there, tough guy. But yeah.
The Jerky Boys. That's a throwback. Wow.
Right? Yeah, no, it's still relevant. That human connection is, because talking with your kids about tough things like online predation. Someone's going to talk to them. It's going to be predators. So you might as well have that conversation. Be approachable. Forget the technologies involved. Be approachable, and stop being a damn friend to your kids. Don't be a tyrant either, but be their parent. They don't know what's best for themselves yet. Be their parent. Doesn't mean you have to be a monster, but damn it, don't be their friend. They will hate you for it later when they're hurt. Right? Yeah. It's like the Goldilocks approach. You can't be too soft or too firm. You got to be in that right.
Yeah, just right. The porridge has to be just right.
Mom, Dad, I got a problem. I need your help. I need to talk to you about it. Let's talk about it. Non-judgmental. Yeah, you have to readjust as they age, right? But
yes.
Right, and say powerful things like, I don't know, like the way I treat my coworkers. I'm the sheriff, and I could be like, I order you. I've never said that once. I say things like, please and thank you. Or if I say things, you could Cora my emails. When you get a chance, could you please X, Y, and Z? I treat them like volunteers. If you treat people well, they stay, right? And I need them to stay, and I need them to be here. And
you have great retention actually, though.
100% retention for 2 years. Amazing. It's amazing. And I've had other leaders ask me, like, what? It's not the money. I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm just nice. Be nice and be generous and grateful that they chose, everyone here chooses to be here. Having the heart of a volunteer, I can't pay them nearly half of what they deserve. They should be getting time and a half for everything they're doing. My coworkers risk their lives on a daily basis, and I look up to them more than anyone else. They're the same class of people that they're my heroes, right? I don't have many heroes, and we're an island without them. We're nothing without that. So, I got it made, man, for real. It's amazing. And Lisa Davis, Captain Davis in St. Mary's, she's one of my heroes too. And that's the crazy thing. She didn't give CPR to an infant because she was getting paid to do that.
Right.
She didn't get a bonus, right, to do that.
Yeah, no. There's no pay incentive to do that.
And I love hearing what you're doing with your podcast, like the good stuff. And again, I'm a bit of I'm stealing this quote from Maynard James Keenan, the lead singer of Tool. I'm very similar to him in the sense that I'm a pessimist with a sense of responsibility. I can see things kind of hopefully for what they are, but I have a sense of responsibility where I don't have any apathetic undertones where I'm okay with outsourcing a problem to someone else. Every time I see a vehicle that's on the side of the road, even if I'm not in my own county, I stop and see if they need help. Every time I see an officer conducting a traffic stop and it's not my county or state trooper, I won't always stop because you don't want to be overbearing, but I always kind of slow down and make sure that officer's not in a fight, because I've been attacked roadside and on the side of I-70 for 7 minutes. One time I had to fight a guy before my backup got there, and I've seen the body camera obviously afterwards, and one of these days I'll release it. It's brutal, man. And he was I won't get into the whole thing, but almost instantaneously we're on the ground rolling around. A violent individual addicted to methamphetamine. He had cut his penis off with an X-Acto knife months before. Crazy guy, bodybuilder, and for 7.5 minutes it was just him and I on the shoulder of I-70, and I
with cars driving by.
Oh yeah, and the time, well, it was dark out again. So, but my first the first thing I thought of was not the screaming and yelling that he and I were both doing. I thankfully had one cuff on him, and I just couldn't get that second cuff on him. Thank God I work out, and thank God I train. And but I was going through the different options of, oh my God, is this guy gonna kill me? Am I gonna have to kill this guy? I really don't want to. I might have to kill this guy. And I started getting muscle fatigue, and I was kind of resting on him a few times. Like I was, above him the whole time. But the thing that stuck with me were all the cars going past. Hundreds of cars. No one stopped. And the sweetest sound in the world ever was hearing that 2 sirens coming across the median. And then when my backup got there, it was a state trooper and one of my sergeants at the time. Shout out to Trooper Luca Henderson and Sergeant Sam Hamilton. It still took us about 3.5 minutes to get that other cuff on that guy. I ripped and strained all the muscles in my upper body, and we took him to the hospital. I brought him back to jail after he got checked out medically. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I got home. I went 10/7, and then I went to the ER, and my whole body hurt for weeks and weeks. It was a fight, and it was, it's like, I don't know where I was going with that stupid story, but sorry.
You're talking about, No, you're talking about how, when you are being aware, when you're also passing by, you see officers, you're helping people on the side of the road, whether in uniform, out of uniform.
Yeah, because it happened to me, and I think that's a good thing, that show your scars. I've been hurt and injured, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You reach these dead ends, and you either turn around or you make your own road sometimes. And sometimes it's good to turn around, and other times it's okay to make your own trail to go places. But it's good to look and listen and kind of get a feel for things, and not to be an overbearing blowhard, and try to.
But that's the same thing. It's the law that's so simply not respected is if an officer has someone pulled over on the side of the road, the car should be moving over. Yeah.
Well, thankfully in Kansas they just passed that law. For any vehicle with its hazards on, you have to move over now.
And I think they had the law, dude. If you can't move over, you have to slow down to a certain speed, right? If those cars are not able to.
I haven't read it yet, and I don't think it's going to be implemented until the 1st of July. Typically, that's when the new laws for each year are put into. Well, that's a good thing. I mean, our undersheriff, Chris Erbel, he was a former trooper, Kansas State trooper, and he was rear-ended when he was a baby trooper. And the photos of his patrol vehicle are, it's like a crushed Coke can. Like Godzilla took a Coke can and just crumpled it up, and it's amazing that he survived it. But yeah, it's a dangerous thing. People texting and driving and just being on autopilot, I guess. Be engaged.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Sheriff Kirsch, this has been a phenomenal conversation with you today. I really, we went through a lot of different directions. I appreciate.
I apologize.
No, we are completely good. I appreciate all the time you devoted to going through a lot today. You've shared stuff that you're doing within your department. You've shared things that that are real to you, your own experiences. And I have to think that individuals listening to this podcast will see that nothing you've shared today is really about you being the sheriff. This is how I do things. Do it my way. It's been about you. It's been about life. What you've gone through. How you're helping people. Showing all the aspects of what you go through and how you approach things. And, there's a lot of you here. I think that it doesn't matter if you work in the gas station, if you work in a convenience store, if you work in a hospital, you work in another department. I mean, all the things that you've shared today have relatability to them. But yet they certainly within certain professions, law enforcement, they come with a certain height of responsibility to the individual, right? And other first responders as well. We joke about firemen, but they come, they have a level of responsibility also. But I appreciate you taking the time to be on today. And said, being the first sheriff to be on, getting to know your local Leo
honor.
Portion. So that's phenomenal. I said, so the police have been stepping up. We just have to get more sheriff's officers to step up, right? So I appreciate you coming on today and spending this time with us. It's really been a great honor. And I think, from the early beginnings, I think you've shown who you were from going to the Marines, and you're carrying that forward now. A lot of different adaptations along that journey, and probably a lot of growth personally. But I really appreciate your time today.
And Scott, everything you're doing to capture and document the stories, the guests that you've had on, you're making sure that there's an existing record for others to follow, because I don't think there's a scumbag or dummy that you find on yet. I've listened to a bunch of your episodes, starting with Lisa's, and these stories need to be told, and everyone matters. And the best thing that we could do is to celebrate the fact that we live in this country, and to kind of know that like we're in the good old days right now, if you make it that way.
You make it that way, yeah.
No fate but what you make. That's another movie quote from Terminator 2. Right? But very honored to be the first sheriff on. I hope I'm not the last. I hope you can get more sheriffs on, because sheriffs are cool, man. I mean, there's some that aren't cool, but there's a lot of them that are I've never met. Like, I went to baby sheriff school, and there's 38 or 40 new sheriffs in the state of Kansas. Like, there's only 104 of us in Kansas. And almost half the state is new sheriffs, and everybody there had an interesting story, and was just, whether they knew it or not, they were destined to be there at this part of their life. And I loved having dinner every night with these guys and gals and listening to them talk about themselves and their lives and their passions and fears too. I mean, that's all part of it. We don't want to get here and mess it up, right?
Yeah, like you said, it's not the fear of loss of life. It's the fear of not doing what's right.
I'm not, what did I say? I'm not scared of being killed. I'm scared of getting comfortable.
Right.
I think that's the biggest hazard you can unintentionally invite into your life is getting comfortable, and then crossing fingers and going, oh, we'll see what happens. No, it's not good enough. You got to get out there.
Because we know if we do that, we become static, and something happens. The unknown happens, because there's somebody out there who's always trying to improve for the better against us, possibly too, whether it's a criminal or a country. So
we're always stronger together, and I am happy to join with you today to come together and speak. And it was my honor, sir. Thank you.
No, it was appreciated. And like I said, we'll definitely stay in contact. We'll keep updates. For individuals, again, who want to know about what's happening in Wabansie County, the best place is probably the Facebook page. So they look up Wabansie County Sheriff's Office is there. Again, the information is out there. Great stories being shared. Stories that are comical, that great relief too. Just to read some of the things you're doing, they bring a light. I laugh when I get through some of those. I don't comment on all of them, but I definitely get a laugh of them. I want to give a plug for what you did recently. We talked about DUIs on here. Do you have a plan? You said every Friday night you put a post out there. If someone has too much to drink, they want to ride home, it's better to get a ride home to your house, the sheriff's office, than a ride home to the jail. So they can reach out and call and let the sheriff's department be their designated driver. Which I think is phenomenal. I hope it has a profound impact. I don't know how well it's gone so far, but I'm hoping that people will realize that. And, it's something that everyone knows the number. They call 911, they can still get to you, right?
That's right.
It's an easy dial. As long as they can open their phone, they're able to make the dial. And even the local establishments, if they're bars, restaurants, if they see it, they can probably make the phone call for the person and say, hey, drive this person home. So I think that's a phenomenal thing that you've rolled out there. What you're doing for the new drivers next year, I think, is phenomenal. I might steal that idea and share it with the APD over here, because I think that is really awesome. It's teaching people how you'll be handled and how you need to react. There's very basic steps that law enforcement, you guys look for certain things when someone walks up to your car, how they're exhibiting behavior. So the driver needs to know how to behave before you get to the window, and how to react when you do get there. Right.
That's right.
So those are, I don't want to call them de-escalation, but you're actually taking steps to prevent something from escalating. So I think that's a phenomenal thing, especially starting with the younger generation, because the way they're influenced by whether it be social media or people around them thinking, like they're arguing the merits of a stop, arguing their constitutional rights that they probably know nothing about, unfortunately, because it's not taught to them in most cases. So they're being taught by the sheriff's department, give them an opportunity to be in lockstep with the individuals they're possibly engaging with versus at odds with them. So I appreciate it. So we'll definitely stay in contact. If there's anything I can think of that comes our way, we'll definitely follow up with you, and we'll be keeping an eye on the other stories. It's a pleasure again, sir, to have you with us, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Scott.
I appreciate it, sir.
Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
If you liked this episode, follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Provide us your feedback in the comments and leave us a rating or review. We truly appreciate your opinion. And then follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook to get all the latest updates. Remember, you can always find places that will share negative law enforcement news stories, but here at Your Positive Lens, you will only find your positive law enforcement news stories. Once again, I'm your host, Scott T. Thanks for listening, and we'll capture you on the next Your Positive Lens.